This problem came very close to me when I saw my dad had a fall and he broke his hip. Post-surgery recovery took a lot of time. And we tried to, convince him to use a walking stick. He felt it's a stigma. I'm not handicapped, I can walk. He was mentally, emotionally getting impacted.
Namaste and welcome everyone to SafeSteps, a Fall Suraksha Podcast, where we talk about the inspiring lives of elders and discuss about a very common yet serious issue of falls among elders. आज हमारे पहले एपिसोड के लिए हमारे साथ एक ऐसे शख्स हैं जो कि ना ही सिर्फ एक विजनरी लीडर हैं, but he is a pioneer in healthcare industry. He is not just an ocean of wisdom, but also a very kind-hearted and very young at heart MD. Mr. Rajit Mehta, MD and CEO at Antara Senior Care and Chairperson at ASLI. Welcome, sir. Sir, I have been very lucky to hear your thoughts, your vision at multiple places and forums in Antara. But today, I see it as a great opportunity to impart your knowledge to our viewers. For me, I'd say that we at Antara can write thesis on you. But आप अपने आप को हमारे viewers को कैसे introduce करना चाहोगे?
So first of all, namaste to everybody and thank you very much for being kind and generous. Actually, I see myself, it's a great opportunity for me actually to impact lives. And this realization came to me only when I joined healthcare. हालांकि life insurance में कहते हैं हम life impact करते हैं by selling life insurance policies and saving lives in that sense. पर जब मैक्स हेल्थ केयर में आया तो मेरा पहले साल का ऑफिस बिल्कुल मैक्स साकेत के इमरजेंसी के बाहर था.
अच्छा, ओके.
जब आप इमरजेंसी में 10 मिनट के लिए जाते हो, यू सी लाइफ एंड डेथ टुगेदर एंड इट्स अ वेरी हम्बलिंग एक्सपीरियंस. एंड देन आई रियलाइज व्हाट इज द प्रोफेशन दैट हेल्थ केयर इज, एंड दैट इम्पैक्टेड मी रियली द मोस्ट. And that was a period of very intense work. It was 24/7 operations kind of business.
Of course.
But I also realized that ज़्यादातर हमारे जो क्लिनिशियंस हैं उनका फर्स्ट कंसर्न पेशेंट ही होता है, डिस्पाइट वॉट एवर जो धारणाएं हमारे मन में बनी हुई हैं अबाउट हॉस्पिटल्स एंड बिल्स एंड ट्रस्ट. बट एक्चुअली में ऐसा नहीं है. डॉक्टर्स आर वेरी फोकस ऑन द पेशेंट्स. वो चाहते हैं जितना हो सके पेशेंट की बेहतरी के लिए वो काम कर सकें. सो वहाँ से मेरे को लगा कि ये बिजनेस तो वाकई में इम्पैक्ट का है, तो एक्चुअली मेरा लाइफ को इम्पैक्ट कर रहे हैं. तो उसके बाद जब मुझे सीनियर केयर में आने का मौका मिला, इट वाज वन मोर अपॉर्चुनिटी. और प्लस आई एम अ केयर गिवर टू माय पेरेंट्स. माय डैड इज 95, मॉम इज 91. तो काफ़ी कुछ एक्सपीरियंस मेरे अपने पर्सनल भी थे. और फिर ये पैशन शुरू हुआ कि भाई कैसे हम कुछ ऐसा कुछ करें अंतारा में वेयर वी आर एबल टू एनरिच द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइव्स एंड एटलीस्ट ब्रिंग स्माइल्स टू देयर फेसेस. सो दैट्स व्हाट एक्साइट्स मी रियली.
Since you mentioned that you are a caregiver yourself, can you tell me one scenario or one thing which you feel right now is a very big challenge for seniors in India as a caregiver, of course?
I think getting them the right care through some specialists and caregivers is a huge challenge in India. Let me explain what I'm saying. So mostly you'll find seniors in India, by and large, about 75% of them have more than one comorbidity.
Yeah.
You'll find cardiac issues with hypertension or diabetes or joint pain. They come in combination.
Yes.
Right? Therefore, a person looking after them has to look at a holistic view of the senior, right? Not take a disease view.
Right.
Because you don't know what will impact what, right?
Yes.
Now, finding those specialists, is quite a challenge in India because we haven't promoted this, geriatric care profession that much.
Yes.
Then taking care of seniors from a caregiver perspective, nursing or GDS staff also requires a special ability. The ability to empathize, the ability to be, compassionate, the ability to listen very carefully and be patient. Because काफ़ी बार seniors बताते नहीं है, observe करना पड़ता है.
Yes.
तो उस तरह की ट्रेनिंग देके caregivers को लेके आना बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है. तो ये दो बहुत चैलेंज हैं मेरे हिसाब से. इंडिया और भी हैं, बट ये बहुत बड़ा है.
Of course. Training the caregivers, as you mentioned. But at Antara, I've seen that this challenge we are trying to mitigate now. We are into a space wherein we are training the caregivers. But how do you think, sir, we can spread this awareness? Because awareness level pe, I would say, we are lacking a bit. How can we spread the awareness?
True, you're right. So, yes, we do put a lot of emphasis on training, both in terms of induction training, onboarding training, geriatric care training. A lot of our content has now been certified by the Healthcare Sector Skills Council. We work with an NGO, not-for-profit Dementia India Alliance, on dementia care, protocols and training. So a lot of training is going into based on our insights and learnings about how seniors should be taken care of, right?
Yeah.
I think we can spread awareness by talking more about in forums. For example, you have a forum called ASLI, the Association of Senior Living India, where we talk about this through Dementia India Alliance, through our dialogue, with them. All the good work marketing does, on podcasts, webinars that we do, right?
Yes.
We just have to spread the awareness about what will it take to take care of a senior, right? It's a slow burn. It will take time, but slowly, I think, given the fact that India's demographic profile is changing rapidly and will change over the next decade and a half, right? This awareness will come through.
Of course. I agree, sir. Just before we started this podcast, sir, you mentioned that you have a lot of personal experiences as a caregiver and how you've seen fall as a problem very closely. Can you also share that with our viewers?
Sure. I think I've had 3 experiences which left a deep impact on me. So when I was a small child, I saw my grandmother take a fall and she had a hip fracture. And because we didn't have very sophisticated ways of doing that, surgical intervention in that point of time, I saw her in bed literally in the last 5 years of her life. It was quite tough.
Okay.
But then, this problem came very close to me when I saw my dad had a fall in 2016, 17, and he broke his hip. While the surgery went very well, we had a prolific doctor, Dr. Maria, who was a great person in any case. The post-surgery recovery took a lot of time, and slowly I saw him first be a little hesitant about walking, then he got more confident. Then we tried to, convince him to use a walking stick. He felt it's a stigma. I'm not handicapped, I can walk. But I could see he's unstable. Then we had to adjust his shoes and height because one of the hip, I thought, either he was not putting pressure or the leg was a little short, right? And then, slowly, I started to notice that he was mentally, emotionally getting impacted. So he hesitated to go outside, right, or take a walk outside in the park alone. He wanted somebody to accompany, right?
Yes.
And then, COVID hit while, he came out of it. Unfortunately, he had a second fall. Right, because he was unsteady, on his feet in any case after the first fall. The second one had a very deep impact. He almost became a recluse while the surgery again was well done. It got fixed. And then I saw a deterioration in his health very consistently. Today he's literally bedridden. There's nothing physically wrong with him. All vitals are absolutely okay. But it's just that, the mental strength to cope with a second fall go through it took its toll. And now, of course, we have to be very careful on nutrition. Muscle loss starts to happen, So it's I would say fall is such the consequences are so ugly. We don't realize it.
Yes.
Only when you go through it, you understand the impact it has on multiple things.
Yes.
Right? And really impacts your quality of life. So I think we should really focus on this one bit and spread awareness about how, and it's a preventable thing.
Yes.
There are many things we can do to prevent falls.
Yes.
Right? And I hope that India and all the people who take care of the elders start to pay attention to this one aspect.
In fact, every one or the other person might have seen this case of fall around them. I have so many cases at my home or in my own surroundings. So I know what you're talking about. But there are people who are not right now aware of the seriousness of the issue. Just like you mentioned, confidence plays a very important role. आप अगर एक बार गिर जाते हो, this is a very common thing in kids also. जब हम गिर जाते हैं, it's very difficult for us to get up and take the next step. I feel it's kind of same for elders as well. Their confidence tend to, shaken up a bit. But you as a caregiver saw your father going through it yourself in front of your eyes. I mean, what sort of psychological impact that had on you as a caregiver, seeing your father having a fall, seeing his confidence shaking a bit, seeing him stand up again and then being bedridden? What was it like for you as a caregiver?
See, I felt emotionally very down, first of all, because he was such a lively person, right? Quite social, involved in a lot of, not-for-profit organizations, volunteering his time and effort, very active in the RWA as well. And it was very sad to see him, become a recluse. And he was a prolific writer. He used to write every day. He used to paint, right? He slowly gave that up. So I felt a little sad that, all the things that were joyful for him were, as if being taken away in one sense. So I felt quite sad. Then I also realized that there are many things we could have done,
Yes.
right? To be able to now deal with the situation or prevent it.
Huh.
So there are small things which we neglect while looking at our house, whether it's the arrangement of furniture, the loose carpets that we have, the anti-skid tapes we can use, the shower chair when a person becomes little
Yes.
old, how to help on that. There are little things we can do to make it better, which of course we put in place
Yes.
after that, and we tried our best. But it took a while for me to get over this, seeing him this way, right? But as I said, touch wood, he's still with us. He's healthy. Vitals are absolutely okay. We're doing our best to take care of him. But it does, sometime in my heart, I get this misgiving
Right.
that, it could have been better.
Of course. And like you mentioned that हम बचा सकते थे या हम fall को रोक सकते थे. But honestly, I come from a household wherein people are not aware कि anti-skid mat को normal mat से replace कर दो, staircase को थोड़ा light up कर दो. ऐसी चीज़ों की awareness I don't see around myself. Slowly it's getting there, but अभी नहीं है. Do you also feel that Indian households में we are still a little less in terms of understanding the risk of falls, mitigating them, replacing simple stuffs, and doing those small things, maybe not keeping the floors wet, maybe lighting up the doorways, to prevent falls and to definitely mitigate the risk of falls?
I think we're a long way off, right? So if you go back and observe, we pay a lot of attention to children.
Yes.
So when we have a small child at home, how to make the house, fall proof for the child.
Yes.
Barricades on staircases, cushions against the bed. Because we have been a young country
Yes.
for a long while. And that profile is changing.
Yes.
Right? So our attention on senior specific nuances in the household has not been there. It's slowly coming, but we are far behind. So there are several things that I said earlier as well in terms of width of, the bathroom door, the arrangement of furniture. So when they get up in the night, there are no obstacles. Light to be kept on the night specifically. Most falls happen in the night in the washroom actually. Anti-skid tiles, grab bars, some kind of an emergency button or a bell. If they have distress, they can press and you can, rush to them. So I think there's a plethora of things one can do to prevent a fall. You can't, minimize the risk to zero, but to a large extent, I think is preventable.
Yes, Lord. Yes. Also, being at Antara, I have noticed that we do have some things through which we can prevent a fall. For example, I was really enticed by Protect. I was really amazed by the fact that there's a watch that can actually prevent falls. Now, if I ask you about Protect, what are your thoughts about it?
So I think it's a great gadget first of all, where at least you can detect a fall and a call can go to the caregiver. Of course, it tracks the vitals as well, right? You can also make a call through Protect if
Yes.
you want. It's SIM-enabled, so no need for Wi-Fi. All that facility, is there. So I think it's a great product. Of course, now I'm hearing that there'll be pendants or risks or
Yes.
rings
Yes.
that will, do the same. Because sometimes seniors take off the watch during a bath or in the night.
Yes.
What would be really, encouraging, and we're trying to work with an organization outside India to have a predictive algorithm in the watch, where the watch can track your vitals such as, your sleeping pattern, your waking pattern, your saturation levels, your blood pressure, and create a baseline. Any deviation from the baseline gives an alert saying a fall might happen.
Yes.
That will really be, I think something which will even go further in this cause of trying to prevent falls. So I think Protect is a great, watch. And we also have a fall kit, as you know.
Yeah.
And I often, talk to the team and say, I'm not able to visualize a single household who is a senior who should not have the watch and the fall kit.
Yes.
That's the least you can do for your seniors and your parents.
Yes.
Right, to save them from the ugly consequences of a fall.
Since you mentioned about the innovations at Antara or the steps that we are taking for seniors at Antara, do you feel that in the basic care philosophy of Antara, we can integrate fall prevention? I mean, how the care philosophy of Antara is all about fall prevention, all about accident prevention, and all about seniors,
So I think all our philosophy is around making sure seniors have a great quality of life. And
Yes.
fall is an integral part of it.
Yes.
So if you look at our infrastructure in our residences, right, the width of doors, the anti-skid tiles, the grab bars, the emergency call buttons in every room or in the washroom, the emergency response teams, the way we have trained our staff, specifically in Dehradun where the community is operational, from the security guard to the resident representative to the people in the lobby, in the club, in cuisine and wellness, to keep watching and observing a senior and seeing if there any risk, which happens. The way we lay the pathway, right, where they do their daily walks, on that side. So that's quite ingrained in us, right? And this watch is now adding a level up, on that ability to take care of seniors, where we can at least detect the fall when it happens, right?
Yes.
So that's very much part of our philosophy, both in terms of design, also in terms of wellness and nutrition. Because while we talk of infrastructure, let's not forget that as a person ages, there's muscle loss.
Yes.
And there is instability, right? I often say there are 4 I's which plague seniors when you become a senior. There's instability, immobility, incontinence and impairment, whether it's, visual impairment or cardiac or hearing impairment, right?
Okay.
So they do tend to lose muscle. Therefore, in making sure that the right regimen of exercises or yoga or physiotherapy is done for them, or nutrition, the amount of protein they need to take, supplements that one has to recommend. So we do our best to put a holistic view, to wellness, including emotional and spiritual wellness as well, as we approach seniors. So that's part of our design philosophy, ingrained in us actually.
Yes, I agree, sir. But now when I'm talking to you, I am starting to feel that you are somebody who has a lot of knowledge about this field, a lot of knowledge about seniors, a lot of knowledge about what challenges they are facing in day-to-day life. Is there any key message that you wish to deliver to the key seniors or the seniors who are there, who are not very much aware? Any message you wish to impart through this podcast?
Sure. As I said, I've been through my personal experiences and having observed many seniors. And, it's such a joy when you meet somebody in our residences in Dehradun and he or she is saying that he's recovered from something or he feels very joyful, wants to, enjoy and look at the, facilities available. Or when I hear a case when somebody used an AGZ product and was able to do something that he or she was not able to do, right? That gives you joy, in that sense. So I think one of the key messages, look, live life to the fullest. Please pay attention to your physical, mental, emotional wellness. You're as important as you were 20 years earlier.
Yes.
Right? It's a blessing to have you in our lives. Pay full attention and be very focused on yourself. Devote more time, to look after your nutrition, your physical wellness, your mental wellness. Keep yourself engaged and happy. Live amongst like-minded people, right? And that's the only way you'll be able to live a fuller life.
While I'm enjoying this discussion a lot with you, sir, I really want to know what are your hobbies outside the work?
Yeah. So actually, I'm an avid reader. I read a lot, variety of things, as you do. I'm very fond of traveling.
Okay.
Right, more pilgrimages now as I age, but I love traveling, seeing new places. And I also love, interacting and mentoring people. I really get joy when I see, leaders who are able to do well. So I spend a lot of time, personal time, on that as well. And there are a few not-for-profit, that I'm also engaged with. And my newfound hobby in the last 4 years has been natural farming.
Oh.
So I discovered that what we eat is not necessarily of the right quality.
Okay.
So, making sure that we do natural farming to have ingredients which are totally fertilizer, free, pesticides free, is a new hobby. And I love to see the farm and the things going over there. So that's my new hobby.
Great. Any book you can recommend to fellow seniors?
I was just reading a book, on, actually, I read a lot of spiritual books now. But I found Shankaracharya's writing quite impactful. So whether it's Bhaj Govindam, right, or Atmabodh, right, they're really fascinating, books to read. Also, I was just reading the Krishna series, I Am Krishna, right? Okay. And I think one of the messages I took away from that was the focus on karma. Because he never said he was God. He just said that whenever I was faced with a difficult situation, I made sure I really fought hard and worked hard to overcome it. So that was a beautiful message that I took away from that. So I enjoy reading that book as well.
I really wanted to ask one thing from you personally. While I was going through one of your interviews, you mentioned that you believed in the philosophy that the tree which has a lot of fruits on it should be more bending. Whereas somebody told you that one should have a little bit of ego in order to stand out, in order to make their own mark in the world. How much do you resonate with this?
That was my grandmother actually. She used to say in Punjabi, obviously, that the tree which has the sweetest fruit always tends to bend, so people can enjoy the fruit. And when I was interviewing with our founder, chairman, Mr. Ranjit Singh, way back in 2000, he listened to this value system and said, that's good, but don't let people walk over you.
Yes.
And that stayed in my head. I think it's a balance. While one has to be, polite and nice, one has to make sure that you hold your ground and have the courage to stand by your convictions. So I think it's a balance, that is essential. I don't call it ego, but I think the ability to have the courage of conviction, what I put it, is also as important as making sure you're humble and polite.
Of course. Any one tip you wish to give to the caregivers in order to take a better care for their elders?
I would say, please do seva. Don't think of service. Service comes from the head. It's intellectual. Think of seva, right? And as my mentor, Sister Shivani says, duaएं kamao,
Yes.
wohi kaam aayingi. So please do seva, earn blessings. That will be, something that you will earn, which will stay with you for life.
Yes, agreed, sir. We are now approaching towards the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for your valuable time,
Thank you.
sir. Thanks a lot for joining in. And guys, let's take some small steps today to build a safer tomorrow for our elders. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.